The most difficult conversation in the Power Ranger fandom is who's right for Tommy.
Hey, wait a minute. What's that supposed to mean?
People are very passionate about this subject, but it typically becomes a popularity contest, who they think is cuter or who was their childhood crush, which doesn't really answer the question fully. Of course, we have the big contenders, but there are a few outliers out there that some fans like to point out as potential love interests for Tommy. Elsa and Haley from Dino Thunder are ones that people love to bring up. Starting with Haley Zichter, they met in college and she helped him create the Dino Thunder powers. Everything this season really leads me to believe that it's a completely platonic relationship, and actually in the finale it was discussed as to whether or not she was going to be revealed as a lesbian.
Is he serious?
Now, that wasn't in the show 100%, so it doesn't mean that that's true, but if that was on the table as a possibility for the writers, it shows me that they really did not write her character to have any sort of love interest for Tommy, and I don't think they show that in the show at all. Elsa's character definitely has a lot more flirting with Tommy. They have sort of this banter. A lot of this was done when she was brainwashed by Mesogog, stating that he had her completely under his control the whole time. She really wasn't even in her right mind, and some people could say that maybe there was this underlying thing with her or a subconscious thing where she liked Tommy, but in the finale, they really show her and Anton Mercer sort of having some sort of connection more than her and Tommy. And for those reasons, I really don't factor Haley or Elsa as potential love interests for Tommy at all.
Calm down, he's not worth it. He's not worth it.
Fans have been fixated on Kimberly for years, and I wonder if I just sort of missed it because I was 2 years old when Power Rangers first started. Kat was introduced in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1995, and interesting enough, she was actually introduced officially in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers I'm Dreaming of a White Ranger episode, the VHS version.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry I can't be there with you.
Don't worry about it.
And I have a whole video on that because it really actually doesn't make any sense in the timeline and when it was released. It's interesting. You should check out that video if you haven't seen it. By the time I was 4 or 5 and I really started remembering every detail of the show, Kimberly had left and Kat had taken her place. So I never really had the feeling of Tommy has to be with Kimberly, because to me, he was with Kat a lot of the time when I was a kid and I didn't really view it as he had to be with Kimberly. But I really try in this analysis to not factor in who my personal favorite is. For a lot of the young kids back in the 90s who got told, oh, you like Mighty Morphin potty trainers, and kids made fun of them because it was a kid's show and you couldn't watch it.
This guy.
Even though it was really cool and had martial arts and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, a lot of people stopped watching Power Rangers when Zeo came around. So many comments on my videos from people who still don't know that Tommy and Kimberly ever broke up. Tommy does end up with Kat. They first revealed this in the Zeo Christmas episode where they had a flash forward showing them having grandkids, being together. I have a whole video on that as well you should check out that has a lot about the fandom and their reaction to this at the time. Now, some fans want to just write this off as not being canon, but it definitely was confirmed throughout the series that they do end up together. Fans back in the day when Dino Thunder came around tried to state that, well, see, Tommy doesn't end up with her because he's not with her. Now, we've gotten a 30th anniversary comic book that has a story about their relationship and what they went through. It was written by Melissa Flores, and she actually went and consulted with Catherine Sutherland, who played Kat in the show, and she asked for her input and asked, what do you think she did with her life after Turbo? And this story really solved the plot hole. It shows them that they broke it off at one point, and then they had a class reunion at Angel Grove, and they reconnected. Kat even asked Tommy about his time in Reefside, and they reveal that Tommy really feels Kat was the one who got away. Now, there is someone out there who is already starting to type and
Stop right now.
that the comic books aren't canon.
Dude, go home.
That's actually wrong. Some are canon to the live action show. A lot of them that Boom did are not connected to the show, but there are ones that are officially proved by Saban saying, yes, these stories are considered canon. That's okay with us.
Think what you want.
Admittedly, I'm not the expert on Power Ranger comics. My fellow YouTuber, Deoxy360, he does great breakdowns of the comic books, and I watched the video on the Kat and Tommy story on his channel to kind of research for this video. And I have that link down below, so you should check that out as well sometime. But if you're still determined, my goodness, those comics aren't relevant. Ugh. The live action show actually has confirmed that Tommy and Kat have a son, JJ, which was introduced in the comics as well. Tommy talks to JJ off camera in Ninja Steel.
Sorry, Dad.
Kat talks about JJ in Once and Always.
JJ's junior karate camp.
One rumor I want to address is that there was a interview with Catherine Sutherland where she stated there was a rough draft of Once and Always where Tommy and Kat were divorced. Now, diehard Kim and Tommy fans, of course, want to pull out this as the obvious.
Oh, see, they didn't end up together. They had a horrible marriage and it didn't work out. They got divorced.
But the writers chose not to include this in the story. I think an idea they thought would be edgy really just kind of discredits the characters and doesn't make them look very good when they've built so much all these years, and then just write it off as, well, they got divorced. I think was just not what they ended up wanting to go with. If you've watched my channel, you know that I don't go into headcanons, pretend headcanons of like, well, this is what I want, so I'm just going to pretend that they did get divorced. I don't do that. So at this point, it is confirmed Tommy is definitely with Kat. End of story. But the final Hail Mary that all people want to state to try to disprove that Tommy and Kat didn't end up together. Well, you know, it's only because of production, because Amy Jo Johnson left the show, and if she hadn't left, then they would still be together. And sure, I mean, yeah, but they didn't.
It's enough.
They moved on with the storyline. But the question is not who did Tommy end up with. The question is, who was right for Tommy?
It's important.
When you look at strong marriages, you typically have some sort of connection, right? All three of them really have connections as Rangers. The shared experience with Tommy and Kat in their relationship is that they were both brainwashed by Rita, and they both have guilt from the things they did while being brainwashed, and they can be a support system for each other. So I think that's really pretty great, in extension to being a Ranger like Tommy and Kim were. Now, there have been recent studies that state that marrying your best friend gives you a success rate of 70%. Statistics can be kind of wrong at times, but let's say this is true. Establishing a friendship before dating is a very positive thing, and I can say that firsthand. Making sure it's not just physical is a good thing as well. Kimberly always had a thing for Tommy, even from the very beginning, and even though they weren't dating right away, it was pretty well established that she had a thing for him and Tommy had a thing for her as well. And when you fast forward to when Kimberly leaves for the Pan Global Games to train for those, it doesn't take very long for her to break it off with Tommy, showing that maybe it really was just kind of a physical thing for her and she really didn't care too much about him besides just physically being close to him and having that connection. And don't forget that she also fell for someone else. It wasn't just that she lost interest in Tommy, it's that someone else came along, and even though she had this huge relationship and these connections with Tommy as a Ranger, that still wasn't enough for her. She was like, nah, I'd rather be with this guy because, you know, he's here and I'm starting to have feelings for him. And I'll be honest, this is really what brings down my personal opinion of Kimberly.
Whatever.
It makes her look pretty bad to me. She seems extremely self-centered. Nothing wrong if you're breaking up with someone, but when you really think about everything she went through with Tommy and going through all these battles and everything, and then it's just, yeah, you know what, I found some other guy and he makes me happy. She quit being a Ranger so she can go after her athletic career.
Oh, wow.
But maybe it's kind of an unfair advantage because Kat already went to this high level.
I never told you guys this, but I'm supposed to go to Pan Globals myself. As a gymnast? As a diver.
And so she's already achieved this level of being a top athlete and competing at that level. I think that Kat learned lessons in her life that Kimberly is still not to yet. She's still trying to learn them at this point when she's training for the Pan Global Games, which is maybe why, to me, Kat seems way more mature than Kimberly. She puts Tommy first. In the episode where they reveal that Kat has feelings for Tommy, she thought that Tommy had a crush on a snowboarder who was actually played by the VR Trooper actress Sarah Joy Brown. I think it's such a dumb missed opportunity for them to have done a crossover with VR Troopers at this point. And I discussed this in my SLAU video that I think you should check out. It's one of my favorite videos because it's all about all the crossovers that could have happened very, very easily and low budget, but they just didn't care and didn't do. But instead of Kat sabotaging Tommy's opportunity with this girl, she actually helps them to get on a date together, But when Tommy figures out that Kat has feelings for him, he pushes that aside. He says he has feelings for Kat as well, but he does request, can we take this slow? And she says, I'll wait for you. From here on out, they really show them as a couple throughout the show, even going through some different things. Tommy gets brainwashed in this 3-part episode series in Zeo, and it's really Kat who comes and like hugs him and says she cares about him. She convinces Tommy and breaks that spell.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
He has to see us. He has to be confronted with the face of his real friends.
Tommy, don't do this!
Catherine?
I did a breakdown of the first and the second half of Turbo. They don't talk a lot about their relationship in Turbo, besides the last few episodes where they are about to leave the show, but they're still a couple. My theory is one reason why the fans don't respect Kat as much as they respect Kimberly is that they never show an on-screen kiss, which is a result of parents complaining about it being too physical. They didn't like when Tommy and Kimberly kissed. I don't blame production for those things because you have to analyze what really did happen. So let's dive in. It's always hard to judge someone's relationship yourself. I've actually lost friends because they had a personal opinion that I shouldn't be with the person I'm with, which is really sad because I've had an amazing relationship, beautiful children. It's very obvious that I did the right thing for me. When people start saying, oh, well, you shouldn't be with Kat, I'm like, I can understand why he should be, because I've been there. So when people say they think that Kimberly and Tommy should be together, why?
Why?
I asked this question on a Facebook group. I also asked this on my channel as well. And I love getting feedback from you guys. So if you subscribe and you can see the things I'll ask questions here and there and want to get your opinions on that. The only comments I ever really see for why he should end up with Kimberly is usually because I like her more, or because I think she's the hottest, which is a subjective thing, or just that she was the first, so they should be together. And the whole argument that she was first is really easy to say on the outside looking in, and you can see this sort of thing like in bands. Like when an original singer leaves a famous band, everybody just says, oh, well, it was better with the original singer. I've actually encountered this. I'm not in a famous band, but I've had a band for 13 years. We had a singer at the very beginning who was in the band for about a year and a half, and a lot of people were really sad when he left, and I mean, I was too at the time. All these years later, we've had the same singer for 11 plus years now, and he's an amazing singer. And I had someone about 2 years ago who had not seen the band since we first started. I mean, it's been over 10 years they haven't seen the band, and they came up to me and go, I just really miss that so-and-so is not singing anymore for you. And I thought, what a dumb thing. We have grown as a band. We've changed in our sound, everything we've done, and it's all been possible because of the person who's singing for us. And that's not a diss on the person who's sang before. It's just that to have that outside view and not think about the fact of what the band has gone through all these years together, they don't factor that in. They just think that's what I know and that's what I like, so that's what I want to have happen. So that's really my thought on people thinking Kim needs to be the one he's with because she was the original. I don't think Tommy would have grown as much with her. I think he grew throughout his life with Catherine, obviously having a child, everything. But all these things are really things that happen off screen. Even though we don't get to see these passionate moments of kissing or anything like that, obviously gone through life together and had a lot of things happen. But let's get into the analytics a little bit here and see how much time have they really spent together. Kim spent 100 episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with Tommy. Now, I took out all the episodes where he wasn't involved. He lost his powers. He was gone for a period of time. 1995 movie, I don't factor because that's not the same universe. So, I mean, you can look at that as maybe they ended up together in that universe. And if that makes you happy, I'm glad it does. But, you know, Kim and him went through a lot of different things. Obviously, Tommy being evil turned good. Tommy losing his powers 2 different times, I believe. The Rangers losing their powers, getting the Ninjetti coins, and of course Kim's departure, going to train for the Pan Global Games. She did make an appearance in the Turbo movie, which is canon, but she wasn't a Ranger, and they didn't really interact very much in the movie. Catherine was a Power Ranger for 18 episodes in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, although she was in about a dozen episodes as a civilian. But in that time, Kat was turned good. Tommy can share in that trauma, of course. They piloted the White Shogun Zord together. Their powers were destroyed. They went on to the Zeo quest. They found their crystals. They met the Rangers of Aquitar. They got new powers with the Zeo crystals. They dealt with Tommy being brainwashed in Zeo, Tommy being dumped, and Catherine trying to help him through it. 50 episodes in Zeo. The Turbo movie, they went to go find Larigo together. They got new powers. They were in 19 episodes of Turbo together. bringing our total to 87 episodes. 97 if you include the civilian episodes, roughly. Just barely under the count of him and Kimberly. With Kat, their relationship was built on a friendship first. They had a lot of time as just friends, really establishing a connection there without it just being a clear physical thing. I think they had more growth in their relationship. You know, Tommy was obviously more mature at that point, being a little older than when he was with Kimberly. In Turbo, they went through graduating high school together and figuring out what are we going to do with the rest of our lives. I just find Catherine seems so much more nurturing in the way she talks and the way she talks to kids. Someone I think you'd want to grow a family with. At least I think so. I think the show got it right, but what do you think? So let me know. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Oh, gee, guys. Thanks.